all good relationships are developed on asking questions of the person that's sitting across from you, right? I mean, this is what you're doing. This is kind of what your job is here on a podcast. But when we're having a conversation, you really shouldn't be talking much. You should be writing down the answers to the questions that you're asking. And that's why role playing and script practicing is critical, because you need to know what you're supposed to be saying to people and asking them so that you ask the right questions.
You're listening to the Real Estate Sessions. I'm your host, Bill Risser with Fidelity National Title, Tampa District. Thanks for tuning in as we uncover the stories of leaders in our industry. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 218 of the Real Estate Sessions podcast. As I always say, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for telling a friend. It's how we continue to grow this little corner of the internet. And I'm very excited. I'm live again. This is twice this week, I've been able to sit across the table from my guest instead of doing a remote, with computers and technology and stuff across the country. I'm here. I'm sitting in South Tampa. And by the way, I'm going to ask my guest about South Tampa because this place rocks for all kinds of different things. I'm here with Michele Herndon, the Ben Kinney expansion team partner here in Tampa. I'm really excited to find out a lot about what she's doing in Tampa and down, we'll call it the South Shore, but also with Ben Kinney. Michele, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks.
So I think I found something rare in the state of Florida. And are you a Floridian? Are you a Florida native?
Well, semi. I've been here since I was 8 years old.
Okay, so where were you before that then?
Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in Connecticut?
Yes, Waterbury.
We have a mutual friend that's from Connecticut.
Yes.
Who would that be?
Anthony Melafronte, my paisano.
Anthony's a lot of fun. Anthony's one of my best guest bookers. I think Anthony connected us, right? Via email, and so we could get together and have a conversation. So you get down to whereabouts in Florida did you end up as an 8-year-old?
We lived in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. And how long were you there? A long time?
We just moved to the Tampa area in 2005.
Wow.
So pretty much my whole
you
life.
You grew up down there. I have to ask you this question. So you're south, you're near Miami. So Dolphins, Heat, Marlins, Panthers. You can only choose one team. Which one is it?
Dolphins.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So can I ask you, you saw Marino, right?
Yes.
So that's really how...
Oh, I used to follow Dan Marino around the clubs back when I was in my 20s.
Wait a minute. You followed Dan, you just shadowed him?
Well, we would go to the clubs that we knew he would be at.
And then just kind of wait for him to show up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And just look at him. We didn't do anything else.
That's awesome. So Dolphins all the way. So I have to ask you this question. How you feeling right now? We just need to get through this rough patch a little bit, or maybe change the coach, probably?
Yeah.
I know they just hired him, right?
Yeah, there's a lot going on with the Dolphins. I became a fan back in 1972, the undefeated season.
Wow.
So my dad, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but my dad had season tickets, and we had 5 kids, and we each got to go to 1 or 2 games.
Oh, he rotated it and took somebody different. Okay, so you had all that fun. You had Shula and Zonka and Greasy. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I was, I was a kid at the time and remember everything about it. Even to this day, there's some people who get a little upset about that 72 Dolphins team, like the whole bottle of champagne thing. And when someone finally loses, they crack it open and celebrate their undefeated season. Yeah. They can thank the Giants for that, for beating the Patriots. I'm sure you love that.
Yes.
As a Dolphins fan.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's awesome. So what was school for you? Where did you end up going to school? Did you stay in Florida?
Well, I went off to Young Harris College in Georgia for my first 2 years and cruised through those 2 years. Went to the University of Georgia when Herschel and I rode the same bus.
Wow.
And then my mom made me come home. When she had moved to North Carolina, I went home because I changed my major 5 times in 1 semester. And so I went home to North Carolina, which was her home, not my home. And then I went back to Fort Lauderdale and finished. I won't tell you about the other 10 schools I went to, but I got my bachelor's degree from Florida International in hospitality management. And I got my master's degree at Florida Atlantic in educational leadership.
We're recording this episode 2 days after Florida International beat Miami. So that I'm sure they're partying down there. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Butch Davis, I think, is the coach at FIU. You got Lane Kiffin at FAU. There's some weird. I love football. I love sports, and so it's weird to watch this whole thing grow in Florida. So cool. Very good. So you get your degree. You're going to be a teacher. Is that what you're thinking at that time?
I got my associate's degree in education, and then I switched when I started working in the restaurant and hotel business. I went to hospitality management.
Gotcha.
And so I have an associate's in education, a bachelor of science in hospitality management, and then I met a technical center principal while I was serving cocktails as a bartender, and I got a job as a teacher. And so I got certified as a teacher. In the state of Florida, you don't have to have a degree in education. You just have to get certified and take the classes that you need in your certification area.
Gotcha. So I don't know if you know this, but and regular listeners will. Number 1 and 2 jobs that somebody had before they became a realtor. Number 1 is bartender. Number 2 is teacher.
Right.
So you were predetermined. You were destined to become a realtor. You just didn't know it in your 20s, probably.
Oh, so here's the thing. I was a realtor in my 20s.
So how's that?
I worked for a hotel that wanted to sell boat slips at Bahia Mar, which is still there on Fort Lauderdale Beach. They were land leasing the docks for like 99 years, but they needed someone to have their license. So they paid for me to get my real estate license. Wow. I got my license. We sold some docks. I sold one house to my best friend. She still lives in it. And I rented a house to my sister, and I hated it. There was no technology. There was no GPS. There was none of that. So that's when I kind of rolled into the whole teaching thing.
Okay. So somewhere, though, as throughout the teaching career where, you've got to come to this point where you decide it's time, or I want to make a change, and real estate somehow appears?
Well, so it was early 2000s. I'm a late bloomer in every sense of the word. I got married late in life. We had a baby late in life. And as it turned out, real estate kind of became a hobby with the advent of Realtor.com. It just kind of became a hobby. And we bought and sold a lot of houses, and we wound up moving over here because of my husband's job. They moved the boat manufacturing business to Palmetto. I was never going to live in Palmetto.
No offense to you in Palmetto. No, just kidding.
But that's how we wound up in Apollo Beach. And I was staying at home with my son unexpectedly because of all the moves, because of the business moving. And I decided to get my license again.
That makes sense. Apollo Beach for your husband's commute was nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, he was in Palmetto in no time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's some beautiful areas in Apollo Beach.
Yes.
And so that's great. Let's talk about your first brokerage. Did you start with Keller Williams?
No.
Okay. Who were you with first? Uh-oh. We don't have to talk about them, just their name.
Coldwell Banker, a local franchise, not the international one.
Okay. And then how long were you there before is the next step Keller Williams?
No, 1 year. Okay. And then I partnered because I didn't know anyone in the area. I was new to the area and almost new to real estate again after being out of it for so many years.
Right.
I partnered with a local realtor who had been an agent since she was 18, and we were both in our early 40s. And she and I decided to have our own little boutique, and she was the broker, and it was just the two of us.
Wow. So that goes on for how long?
1 year.
One more year. Okay.
Because then it was 2008, and the market tanked in September, and December 1st, I hung my license with Keller Williams.
Okay. Now, you'd spent a year at Coldwell Banker, which is a heavy education-based kind of a company. You spent a year with a boutique brokerage, probably not so much training, but mentorship from this person.
Yes.
So then you walk into Keller Williams. I'm sure the education part of it had to be a big factor for you. Were you still looking for that, or at this point were you pretty sophisticated?
No. The reason why I was even drawn to Keller Williams was because of my teaching background. I actually wanted to do some training for them.
Awesome.
Which is initially why I went to the KW office in Apollo Beach.
Okay. So every Keller Williams I've ever walked into, there's attention to detail to that training center.
Yes.
In every single one you walk into.
Yes.
And so you wanted to be back up in front of the class a little bit.
Yes.
Have those conversations about what you knew and what you learned. Good. So we're in the short sale. We'll call it the dark days. How did that part go for you? Were you able to figure that out and adapt and move forward with it?
Yeah. So like I said, I joined in December of 2008, and there wasn't much other business to be had at that point. And all I know how to do is work hard. And so many people jumped ship and got off the gravy train of people banging on your door to buy and sell real estate. It wasn't happening anymore. So I just jumped in feet first and just just started working short sales, and one of them was our own home. So I really cut my teeth on.
Yeah.
on
So
short
just
sales.
learning that process there, I found that so many people that made that commitment to, because really, ultimately you're helping people.
Yes.
That short sale, is such a traumatic, tough experience, right?
Yes.
As you mentioned, having been through it, you knew exactly what these people were feeling, and trying to explain to them, this really is the best move. I know you want to try and stay here and stick it out or do whatever, but looking long term, you got to make this move.
Right.
So I'm just guessing that sort of compassion and that sort of service has really played out well for you over the last, let's say, 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of agents lose sight of, is that we really are here to help. And of course, the bonus is we get to make money too, and we all do a job to be able to make money. But if you lose sight of the fact that we really are here to help people buy and sell and build wealth through real estate, you lose that and you're out for the almighty dollar. You're never going to get it.
Right. Let's talk about the two distinct markets you work in now, right? So South Shore, Apollo Beach, it's a very unique area in the far southern Hillsborough County, right on the east side of Tampa Bay as it kind of runs down towards Manatee County. And we're sitting here in the office on Henderson in beautiful South Tampa, just a stone's throw from Hyde Park. And I drove by HB Plant here on the way here just because I've never been through that neighborhood. And oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yes.
So talk about just maybe the differences between the two. Just a real quick hit between what's South Shore like versus South Tampa.
Well, there's the price points, right? Like there's many of the same price points, but the bang for your buck in Apollo Beach is huge. And that's happened just because of the downturn in the market. Like South Tampa didn't take the hit that the South Shore took back in the short sale and bank-owned days.
Right.
It just didn't. But the biggest difference is that the homes, and I'll tell you from a perspective of someone who just moved here 2 years ago.
Okay.
Apollo Beach is newer homes. And when I say newer, like the Mirror Bays and Andalusia was built in the 80s and 90s, but Mirror Bay was early 2000s into 2010s, and they're still building in there. New community, water set, brand new homes going in there. So you come from the South Shore area thinking the majority of the homes are new-ish, if not brand new, right? You come to South Tampa, and there's a lot of teardowns going on and a lot of new builds going on here too. But there's a lot of older homes here that people have rehabbed and remodeled, and you're going to pay for that, a smaller home here, what you would pay for almost a brand new home with a pool in Apollo Beach, right? So there's good deals for different types of people. You either want to be in the city and have access to a lot of stuff, or you can manage the suburbs. And that was the first time when we lived in Apollo Beach for 12 years. We had never lived in a suburb before. I'm a city girl. I had access to everything until we moved out there.
Within a 5-minute or 10-minute drive, you had everything. Not, some things from Apollo Beach are going to be 20 miles up the 75.
And so when we moved there in 2005, my prerequisites, my son was just turning 3. I needed a McDonald's within 5 minutes. I needed a Costco within 15 or 20. And I needed a Target within about 20. And I needed a Publix right down the street. And that gave me all of those.
Yeah, it did. It's funny. I've done a lot of work at the Keller Williams office your license is at. And I know where the Publix is. I know where the Mickey D's is. The Costco's up on the causeway. Right? Am I okay?
Yeah, that's it.
For all the national listeners, just look at it on a map. It's great.
Yeah.
And when you talk about old properties in South Tampa, we're talking about things built in the 10s and 20s and 30s. I mean, they've been here a long time. Some of these beautiful brick homes and just crazy nice stuff,
and the
right?
Bungalows.
And then little tiny homes, 1,000 square feet that have been there forever. Yeah, it's very cool. And then you got this whole Bay Shore area. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on here. Davis Island, Harbor Island. Yeah. Let's talk about your business, right?
Okay.
So you have a team now. What does the team look like? How many people are on the team? What are the roles?
Yeah, right now, we have one operations manager. She's our big admin. And then we have a transaction coordinator who is remote, who we've been working with, I don't know, for 5 years.
Wow.
She's
Isn't that
awesome.
She just knows everything that's going on in the whole process.
And she transitions with our systems, like when we had our big move to Brivity, and she totally was all on board with that. Anyway, so we have those two as our admin, and we have 7 agents right now.
Wow.
And I want to grow by 5. So I want to grow to 10 and then 15. And really my ultimate goal is to be at about 20 agents on our team.
Okay. So actively recruiting right now? Just throwing that out there if
Always,
someone's listening?
Always.
Okay.
Always looking for agents.
For the right fit, I'm
yes,
sure for you.
It's being on doing real estate itself is not easy, but to be on a Ben Kinney team, it's not for the faint of heart. I talk to people about that all the time. We have very high standards. We have very specific things that we do, and I've sat across the table from a lot of people who, I want to be held accountable, and yes, I will do that, and yes, I'll do this, and then they're like, no.
Where you mentioned Ben Kinney, and we have to talk about Ben, and I'll bring something up here. One of my favorite pieces of stuff that you can still find online that Ben crafted back in the day was the 10 Days of Pain.
Yes, we still have it.
You still use it.
Yes.
It's still there. Yeah.
Yes.
And for those that just want to Google that phrase, it's available now kind of everywhere. I think it was proprietary back in the day, but it's now out there. And it really was like what you have to do for the first 10 days. You've generally met somebody via the internet, right?
Yes.
How do you qualify and stick with them and figure out where they're at in the process? Look it up, 10 Days of Pain.
Yeah.
So that's great. So your business today, because I know being a Ben Kinney operation, lead generation is a big part of what they do.
Yeah.
However, Ben, in the last 8 to 10 years, maybe 7 to 8 years, he's really focused hard on taking care of your customers and that whole back end referral, taking care of everything. What does it look like for you? What's your breakdown of your business? Because my guess is, what percentage is, referral sphere based and client based versus new leads, new generated, new prospecting?
Yes. So we are still at about 65% past clients and referrals. And by referrals, I mean past client referrals, sphere referrals, and other agents around the country referrals.
Sure.
So we're about there, and then we can break it down further. I was just looking at my numbers the other day. We have a lot of our people who come into Brivity using our SEO and, Facebook ads, Instagram, and all of that we have mostly buyers are coming from that, but we're getting some sellers because we have an awesome market report that we set everyone who asks for evaluation and everyone we know, we set them up on a market report, and every 2 weeks they're seeing what's going on in their neighborhood.
Nice.
And
that's coming
pretty
through
awesome.
Brivity?
It's Brivity.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're getting listings by doing that too.
Okay.
And then my farm, we own we're at, I think, 18% of the listings share in our farm in Mirror Bay right now. Yeah.
So are you top dog? I would imagine 18% is pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
You're like, yes, of course, Bill. 18. Didn't you hear me? I said 18%. And there's only like 5,000 realtors that would love to work in Mirror Bay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ben and your relationship. I think it was around 2018 when you became a partner in the Ben Kinney operation. He is almost in every state around the country, I would imagine. He's really expanded. And I would say he's like the godfather of the team building. I don't know of anybody that would got as big as Ben did, as fast as Ben did back in 10 years ago.
Yes.
It's all the rage now.
Yeah.
And they have Ben to thank for it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. So Ben is part of a core group that started that whole expansion thing with Gary Keller. They called them the Pirates back then, and Kristen Cole. But Ben is huge in that expansion area because he did it organically. Ben was one of the few that actually expanded with teams. And then, and it was that, we get leads like, we get people calling us if he did radio ads. And so they'd be a little outside of the Bellingham area. And so we would have to refer it out. Well, then he became partners with someone who worked those areas.
Right. That's how it started.
And he expanded out. And then Adelina Rotar was his first expansion partner in Austin. I think that was 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not really sure. I'm not really good with time frames.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was the first one. And then from there, he just started expanding out to other states. We have 3 teams in California. He's got all of the partners up in Washington State. He's in Idaho, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Nashville, Atlanta, 2 of us in Florida, Destin, Dawn Burt, and her husband, Robert.
Up on the Panhandle, right?
Yes. Yeah. Missoula, Montana.
Wow.
Lake of the Ozarks, Jamie.
Are there
Jamie
get-togethers? Is there
yes.
an annual event where
funny that you should say that. Yeah, we have expansion partner retreats where all of the partners get together. We also get together during all of the Keller Williams events like Mega Camp and Family Reunion. But we actually have a retreat coming up. We're going to Bellingham on the 15th and 16th of December.
Oh, excellent.
So we'll be there with all the
holiday
partners.
Retreat with everybody. That's great.
Yeah.
Good. I'm passionate about the R word in real estate, and which is relationships. I think it's so critical. And, I've started calling when I talk to realtors about maybe their online lead generation and what they're trying to accomplish. And really, I'm not an expert, but I know really smart people like you and Ben and other people that I follow and I learn from. Mm-hmm. And I always like to call them like opportunities for conversations. It's Dan Stewart told me last week, that's too wordy, but that's what a lead is. It's just an opportunity to talk to somebody. And then how do you handle and how do you build that? So talk about how do you talk to your team and maybe even had it flowed through Ben, whatever it is, how do you start those relationships and foster those relationships? I think this will really help the audience.
So I think it's all about the questions, right? Like we have to stop just talking for the sake of talking.
As I just did for the last minute, asking you this question. Okay. Thanks, Michele. No, just kidding.
No, but that's the fact of the matter, right? Like all good relationships are developed on asking questions of the person that's sitting across from you, right? I mean, this is what you're doing. This is kind of what your job is here on a podcast. But when we're having a conversation, you really shouldn't be talking much. You should be writing down the answers to the questions that you're asking. Yeah. And that's why role playing and script practicing is critical, because you need to know what you're supposed to be saying to people and asking them so that you ask the right questions so that you can get hopefully a great answer.
Yeah, I call that intentional listening, which there's, I think, 1,000 books written on that topic.
Right.
And I always say this, I say, my wife, I've been married 31 years. And so I know at the end of the day, when I get home, I have to do one thing every single day. And it shouldn't be a chore. It should just be a loving thing. Yes. But I'm a dude. So it's, but it's listen intentionally to her day, right? What happened in your day? And that's what you're talking. We know it works in our personal lives, yet when you get into the world of business and real estate specifically, all of a sudden we become, I got to tell everybody what I know. Yeah. Instead of just sitting back and letting those questions kind of decide how you're going to handle that.
Right.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that answer. You mentioned brevity, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
This is Ben Kinney being not only just creating, first of all, a very successful realtor in Bellingham that's turned into this other thing, this massive operation, but brevity's kind of his thing. He built this, it was his vision to have this solution.
Right.
And let's talk about that a little bit, how that works for you.
So for us, brevity is all encompassing, right? Like we don't have to go to 10 different places to do the 10 different things that we have to do that actually all should be tied together. So we have our contact management system in brevity. We have our transaction management system in brevity. We're able to do our CMAs out of brevity. We send the market reports from brevity. We have a valuation system in brevity. It just all is tied together. And the idea behind it and Ben's whole, I'm not speaking for him, but it's my understanding that Ben really wants brevity to do 75% of the stuff that we have to do so that we can do the job that really is our job, and that is work with people.
Right.
So he's got AI that's integrated into it now, and every day there's something new coming out of development, which to me is the exciting part about being a customer and being part of the Ben Kinney companies, because it's out there available to everybody.
Right. And Ben and Gary, I'm just going to guess, and I say Gary Keller, I'm assuming they're very close.
Yes. Yeah. So Ben's been a top agent. The first time I saw him up on stage, I had been a KW agent for 2 years. I think it was 2009. He was up there as the young gun, and they have developed a really strong relationship.
So my guess is that Ben's even probably been a consultant or a part of that team of those top agents that I think Gary's kind of looked at and said, hey, what do we want to do here? Because he made a big announcement a few years ago when he said, we are going to create a technology that's going to take care of everything that our agents need to do, right?
And the consumer.
That platform, that place where things can happen back and forth. And not only that, but I guess vendors can be a part of that as well on that platform. That's called Command.
Yes.
And so Command has been coming out in phases. Is that a safe way to put it?
Yes.
Kind of in things. And so right now, let's talk about where Command is right now. for you and how you use it? And do you see down the road, all this kind of playing nice with Brivity, or how does all that play out?
Yeah, so there is integration already with Brivity where it syncs through Pisync. Don't ask me what that is. Okay. I just know the words.
Okay.
But it syncs back and forth. Brivity syncs back and forth, and some of the other vendors do too. And right now for us, what we're using it for is because we are on the Brivity platform, we're using it just to get paid. I mean, that's just the only way to put it. Like, this is where we're going to upload all of the forms for compliance and send it all over so that we can get paid through our market center and get our disbursement authorizations.
Yeah, it makes sense that the first part of command that's going to work is the back engine, the back office, accounting, compliance, all that good stuff. Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
There are a lot of agents that are using it, using the website, using it for marketing and all of that. But awesome. we have that with Brivity, so right. I'm not going to.
So that's all going to play and mesh together. It's all part of the plan because, Brivity was created by one of the top KW agents in the country.
Right.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Let's switch gears just a little bit. We're in Tampa. The iBuyers are here.
Yes.
The disruptors. I'll use the D word. That's getting kind of cliche-ish. So OfferPad, Open Door, Zillow Instant Offers, all that great stuff. What's your take?
My take is I just got certified to be a Keller Offers through OfferPad agent. And so I can offer that to my sellers as an option. So Gary Keller is a smart guy, right? Yeah. So he came up with this system and partnered with OfferPad where I can go into a listing appointment. And in the city of Tampa, there are limitations. Like it has to be 450,000 or lower. It has to be built after 1940. And you can offer them this service. Yep. Mr. Seller, would you like this option? Like, OfferPad will buy your house. Do you want to get an offer from them? And they say yes or no, and they can decide yes or no. And then the other option is I'll list your house.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get to be involved on both sides, right? If they decide to take the OfferPad offer, then we'll list the house for them. We'll list it for OfferPad.
Right. For that price. That's great. So yeah, I knew, that we'll call the big brokerages, right? Keller Williams has theirs, Coldwell Banker, Realogy. Those companies are going to come out with that same sort of thing. Right. I think Remax is doing the same thing. It's important. I think that if you look back 10 years ago, if you had a seller that was desperate and had to get out fast, didn't you take care of them?
Yeah.
There just wasn't this website to go to.
Right.
Instead, you had like local hard money guys or flippers who could get it off their hands quickly with very little energy on the seller's part. But they're going to pay for that service.
Right.
And now it's just been institutionalized. So you don't see them as a bad thing.
No. I mean, the sad reality is the whole real estate landscape has changed. And it's changed because of this and because of the Zillows. And all of these people weren't around. Redfin, Zillow, all of these guys weren't around 10 years ago. And the fact of the matter is we just have to work smarter and harder and do more business. That's it. I mean, if they're going to change the way that we get paid or maybe even how much we get paid, we just need to do more and be better.
I love that. I love that answer. I know a big team back in Phoenix who says the same thing. Why do we feel like, show me how you earned that commission? If it was all just to push a couple buttons, what did you really do?
Yeah.
So really showing your value and then providing value for because what you do is help people with the most important thing they'll probably ever do in their lives, right?
Exactly.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. I love that awareness. So let's talk about how you're really touching your sphere. What does that look like? You mentioned the market reports. Is there anything else that you do or that through Brivity that really keeps you connected to your people? Well,
so we set up auto plans in Brivity. And to be very honest with you, I coached with Michael Mayer. You know Michael?
Yeah.
And so he wrote 7L. And so I coached with him for 4 or 5 years. And I was all the 7L and I was all about staying in touch with my people. And I had everybody on these plans and everything. And I have my plans in Brivity. And I have been horrible at them. And so it's on my 2020, on my 135 GPS. It's all this Keller Williams goal setting stuff. But that is on my goal list for 2020 is to get back to staying in touch with people that I know on a regular basis rather than just, every now and then or whatever.
Right.
And to do more events for my people, with my people, and in front of my community. Because what I look back on all my business over the years, what were my best years and when did I have the most new business that came from people that I knew? Because to me, that's the easiest business to get, is just to prove your worth through other people who are your advocates.
Right.
And so just to get back to that, and Brevity provides a great platform for it with the auto plans. And we are right now going through all of our auto plans so that I can get back to that. Tomorrow, we have pies that we're giving, Thanksgiving pies, to thank our past clients. Anybody who signs up can come get a pie.
Nice.
So little things like that, right? But it gives us an opportunity to actually talk to our people and find out, do they need our help? And sometimes the conversation isn't even about real estate. It's just catching up, and
Right.
that's it.
And that's really, I think we just lose sight of that fact, right? It's just talking to somebody about anything.
Yes.
As a realtor, you could talk about anything. And ultimately, it's going to end up kind of where things ultimately end up.
Yes.
It just comes back to that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm watching our time here, and I've had you the 30 minutes I asked you your time.
Awesome.
So I'm going to wrap up with the same question I've asked every guest since day one. And that's, what one piece of advice would you give a new agent?
Number one, we're here to help. Like, that is your job. You're here to help someone follow the path of whether they're buying or selling, and help them along to get to where they want to go, not where you want them to go. And number two, it's that I wish that someone had said, don't be afraid of lead generation. And because I had never heard those words before until I became a Keller Williams agent. And that is the crux of our business. And I wish it wasn't called lead generation. I don't even like to call people a lead. Like, it would be relationship building. Don't forget about that, because that is what's going to drive your business. People are not going to come and knock down your door like they did back in 2002 and 3 in the crazy market that was back there. It's just not the reality anymore. You have to go out and develop relationships, and you can choose the way that you do that. It can be with just people that you know. It can be with people on the internet. It can be with people through doing open houses, networking, whatever. But you have to consistently every day. Michael had, I had a quote on my wall for the longest time, and that was, someone in Tampa Bay needs my help today. It's my job to go and find them. That's it. That's what you should know as a new agent.
Michele, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can reach me. Well, I have like 22 phone numbers. A phone call, a text. You can go to our website, tampahomesandbeyond.com or bkttampa.com, and sign up, or call me. I'm free with my phone number, 813-856-9822. Text me, call me, whatever.
Michele, thank you so much for your time today. This was really a blast. I knew it was going to be fun. Any friend of Anthony's, right? he's an amazing guy. But
Yeah.
You're doing some very cool stuff. It was really neat to have this time to talk with you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.